It is day one, and we have one big project today. That's this apple cider vinegar infused with all the wonderful flavors of the earth. And I'm going to explain to you why this is important and why this is more than just about the apple cider vinegar, which, by the way, does help reduce your insulin resistance and brings you to fullness faster. But that is not why it is the main project for the day. In fact, the reason this is the main project for the day has to do with this. If you've seen some of my YouTube videos, you know I talk about the big goal and setting a goal that's big and bold, that's completely physically encompassing, a total physical experience type of a goal. In those videos, I talk about how one of the key differences with my weight loss this time, as opposed to all the 1,000 other times I tried to lose weight, was the nature of my goal. And so my goal wasn't about like losing 10 pounds or a dress size or like fitting into this belt. Can you even imagine? That might have been a pretty big goal because it was completely inconceivable to wear a belt like this with like jeans and no muffin top. Or how about this? Check this out. If I could even do it. Boots. I've never in my life worn boots. I mean, never. I could never wear them. My feet were too wide. I couldn't get boots that were comfortable enough that would fit my wide feet. I never wore boots. That was actually an inconceivable goal, but I wouldn't even call these things big goals. So like getting the thrift shop belt with the jeans and the boots is not even a big goal. My big goal was I wanted to get out and hike. That was my goal. And I completely engaged in that goal. I drove from hiking trailhead to trailhead, watching my son go off, and I limped around as best I could. I took fragrances. I took like pine needles from the forest or from fir trees and brought them home and infused them in apple cider vinegar or made like lip balm out of them and that sort of thing, and stayed engaged in my goal all the time. And why is this important? You guys, this is so critical, and I don't want you to take it for granted. So you're going to be very, very tempted to think that this is like more trite stuff. And I say that, out of love, because me, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, would have said, oh, brother, this is ridiculous. And so like all this like goal setting crap, you know, if it was all about just goal setting, I would have been thin back when I was 20. Give me a break, right? Okay. No, I get it. Here's why I emphasize the big goal. So I'm going to take a few minutes with this because I think it's that important. Okay, as we've looked at the success cases coming out of the group, it really struck me that what we're doing that seems to be very different, strikingly better than anybody else in terms of our outcomes, is we have a really shocking number of people getting to the finish line. That doesn't really happen often out there in the world. And, or like me, I'm 30 pounds below my lowest weight as an adult. We have other people in that situation. We have people in their 70s and their 80s getting back to their high school weight. How is it, I wondered, how is it that we are doing something that's like a little more unique in that regard? Other weight loss platforms, they count a success case as 40 pounds. And that's a success. I'm not, trying to diminish that. But it's nothing compared to what we're seeing in the group, especially among people like me who are at their lowest adult weight. And so what explains that? And it was, as I was delving into this literature, this utility theory literature about addiction, that was always on my mind, is how is it that we are getting to that low weight? And on one hand, one fairly obvious answer is that people are seeing other people do it. And so as we have so many cases coming out of the community, that just really drives so many more cases, because when you see someone who looks like you doing that thing, who's 3 months ahead of you, that empowers you, that inspires you. And so that has got to be a big reason for these success cases. However, it doesn't explain a critical success case, does it? It doesn't explain me, because I had no one in front of me. I had no plan, you guys. I was just desperate. I was actually about to go in for bariatric surgery, and that's a whole other story. But my point is, I did not have that example in front of me, and I never conceived of getting to this. This was not my goal. My goal was not, hey, wear the jeans and the belt and be 140 pounds. That was not my goal. I mean, maybe it should have been, but I would have laughed. I mean, it was inconceivable. This was my goal. I was going to get out and hike with my son. So I'm here in the Giant Sequoia National Monument. I can literally see giant sequoia trees from my house. I could see them, and I could not get out in that because I was just limping around. That was my goal. I engaged in that goal so much that season. We camped, we got out, we hiked. I would drive to the trailhead. I would hike as much as I could. My, fit son was off, prancing ahead of me. And I got out and I engaged in the goal. I did something else. I picked things like pine needles or fir needles and I infused them into vinegar so that at home, when I was eating my salads or whatever the case, I had those flavors of the forest infused into that apple cider vinegar. So you're guessing why we're doing that next. Okay. So my goal was different than it had ever been on past diets. My past diets were always things like, losing the jean size or the 10 pounds, the 25 pounds, that sort of thing. Never ever something completely physically immersive like hiking. Because you can imagine hiking, you're picturing yourself because you want to picture yourself engaged, the aromas of the forest, the sights and the sounds. And and again, it's not like what you look like hiking. It's how you feel hiking. It's everything. It's that whole body experience of hiking. That was my goal, to get out and hike and get in that environment. And so that is what I engaged in. It is what I focused on. And all of my measurements were like, yeah, I could see I was, going down in pant size and I was weighing. So I would kind of go 30 pounds at a time. But at each sort of checkpoint, my measurement was like, could I hike better? And so I just kept going. I kept going. I kept up the momentum. I was having success for the first time in my entire life with a diet, and I was getting better and better and better at hiking. And so I kept going, and there was no stopping and no settling. I just kept on going, and I do wonder, had I set a goal of 25 pounds, had I then stopped that momentum, had I might have gotten comfortable with where I was. And as I say in some other work, that it's that getting all the way to the finish line that I think is a key maintenance success factor. Because I'll tell you what, the difference between 280 and 140, you fight for that thing. You fight for it. 280, 250, it's good. Like, get down there. That's going to change your blood pressure. It might help in a lot of ways, but the problem is you're probably going to go back up because it's not so fundamentally different that you fight like hell for it. Not like 140 pounds. Okay, so the big goal. And how does it relate to this book? So we will delve into just a little bit of so I'm out there wondering, like, how our cases are so distinct, and ended up landing on encouraging the big goal. And I want to point out again, it's not because like there was some Facebook meme that told me about making a very big goal. It's not that at all. It relates back to this. Okay, so let's delve into this just for a moment. Just for a moment. And you'll see why I call myself a translator, because so what George Ainsley, what he's known for, is talking about in utility theory about how when we talk about two decisions and making decisions, a lot of times, like, a game theorist will look at like a choice set that somebody has. So if you have a choice between eating the donut, okay, and abstaining from the donut to hold out for a longer term goal, the mathematicians would apply different values to those choices and try to predict what you're going to do, and use those predictions then to develop theories and models of human behavior. And so one of the things they do is look at what is the value we place on the donut, and the conundrum is, like, why is it that we keep eating the donuts when clearly that's working against our long-term goals? Okay, and so one thing that's very much recognized is that the further the goal is into the future, the less we sort of pay attention to it, right? Okay, so we all know that to be true. Like, the donut's right there, and then you eat it, you get that immediate satisfaction. The payoff is absolutely immediate, but we also know there's some big disadvantages of eating that donut, but you cannot deny the payoff is absolutely immediate. And so when that payoff is immediate like that, we need something to compete with that. The thing is, that something needs to be very, very big, because the further it is into the future, like a year after a year needing to lose 100 pounds, that's very far into the future. It needs to be big, because we will discount, like in our brains at that moment facing the donut, we're going to discount that long-term goal because it is so far into the future. And that is, so in terms of like what kind of discounting is done, George Ainsley is the author who says, well, it's hyperbolic, and so he has his graph and shows the conundrum essentially. So without going into that, he is known for the hyperbolic discounting curves that we employ as we choose between the donut and other longer term goals. And so as I looked at like the difference between us and other communities and why it is that people were getting to these goals and why it is that maybe I got to this goal, as I was reading this, it really struck me that what I did for the first time is that I made my long-term goal so big that it really could compete with the donut, okay? And that is what I encourage you to do. So without delving into this, but what I'm trying to say is the big goal recommendation, it comes from this. It doesn't come from a trite Facebook meme. Okay, so understand that. And so all you naysayers who are like, yeah, I mean, come on, I have tried all the diets and I've set some goals or whatever, this cannot matter. Well, you know what? I think it matters. I think it matters a lot. So just go with that for a little bit. Like just delve in and give me a little break because we are having great success. But I get it. I mean, I totally get it. Okay, I get it. I have been very salty in the past myself. Okay, make your goal big. I'm going to talk about it more. We're going to talk about it in the context of apple cider vinegar. So let's go work on that project up here.